everybody, and welcome back once again. Another edition of Inside the Headset, Week 9, Game 9. I'm with the head coach of the Oakland Patriots, Coach Thomas McDaniel. Coach, last Friday night you took on Laverne, came away with the W. You've had a chance to look over the video, and what's going on with Oakland football?
Man, it's hard to even think about Laverne with all the stuff going on this week, but I think Laverne was first half. It was tell of two halves. Obviously, first half they gave us their best fight, and I thought we responded well. We had a couple really good drives that we didn't finish, and got put behind the chains because of a couple penalties and whatnot. But they second half, whatever reason, it's just I think we kind of wore down on them and popped some big runs and hit a couple big passes, and just kind of the wheels fell off for him, and it snowballed real quick. So Coach Stevens and his staff have done a good job. I know. I think they're continually getting better. But second half, they just weren't the same football team they were in the first half, and we took advantage of it. Give our guys credit. I thought, again, we were up 13-0, which 13-0 is a lot better than 0-0. But people want to see 28-0 at half, and sometimes that's just not the case for whatever reason. And some of it was execution, some of it was penalties, some of it was field position. Field position was really bad for us in the game.
And give them some credit too.
Right.
Being our football team.
And they were able to flip the field a couple of times. So but again, all that being said, we had a couple really good drives. We had some good things going. I think part of the offensive progression and the growth process is you can't get stuck. I guess my biggest problem for me and on the staff and with calling plays is we'll just run it behind Jack Jones. Well, that's not gonna. At the end of the day, that's not gonna get us to where we want to get to. We have to be multiple. We have to be able to run the ball. For lack of a better term, there's 8 gaps up front. You got to be able to hit all 8 gaps. You can't just run behind the butt crack of 75. So, being
on the right side.
Right, and so being multiple enough means you got to work it, and sometimes the read's good. Case in point, early one time we blew early in the game ran a zone read that Jacory pulled and made a great run on the first series, and then but then we went three passes, and there were 3 incompletions for different reasons. Then when we got the ball down in the red zone the first time, we ran a zone read. He made the wrong read. He pulled it anyway, made a guy miss and scored. So, sometimes a good play, once you look at it in stands, is really not a good play on film. And our first touchdown that Jacory ran in off the zone read, he should have given it. Instead, he pulled it. He made the guy miss, which that's good, but that's not the read. And but there's going to be some offensive inconsistency when you're trying to do more than just, hey, let's just run it off. Jack Jones is behind. So, just kind of getting in the rhythm, getting in the flow, and I think the positives being that we were able to respond in the second half with a couple big drives, hit some big runs, threw some really good passes, but defensively I thought we played outstanding. I mean, it was kind of this similar story to a lot of games. Ty Nix was definitely hard to block. He was around in the backfield a lot. I do think that what I want to see, again, I've said this before, but the next step for him is trying to, get under control enough once he gets past the line of scrimmage to get flat and be able to run things down. But he was definitely a force, and we just got a dilemma. I just got through doing a radio interview a few minutes ago, and somebody asked, well, what is the strength of your defense, your secondary? And I think on paper, you look at it, it probably is our secondary. But I really think right now the strength of our defense is our interior 4, and I say that because Josh Smith was out and Dexter Herb came in at middle linebacker. We moved Kevin to the backside linebacker. But when you have Anthony Akers and Ty Nix inside, when you have linebackers like Kevin Prather, Josh Smith,
they can make some tackles.
You're either going to double the front, which you're going to have to double Anthony or Ty, and then you're not going to be able to get off on the second level with the linebackers easy, or you can single block them to get to the linebackers, and one of them 2 interior defensive tackles is going to come free most of the time. They're going to win a one-on-one matchup. So that's a big dilemma, I think. So anyway, if we continue to progress the way we have been and get a little more consistent with some fundamental things, we're just going to be a hard team to move the football on very much. We're playing with much better effort. We're more consistent. We're tackling better. We're making the progression we ought to make on the defensive side of the ball. So, took care of business, got to play a lot of people, had a defensive touchdown. George Beasy intercepted one, I believe, late in the third quarter, made a nice jump on the ball where we rotated the coverage. And it's a coverage that we put in particular for the quick screen, which, give our defensive staff a ton of credit from scouting. They kind of knew and anticipated where the ball was going in a certain situation to a certain player. So we had George lined up on the side he needed to be on. We had the coverage call that we wanted to have. They ran the play that we wanted them to run, and he intercepted it.
Put the man in the right position at
Right.
the right time.
Yeah.
Let him make the play. If
Yeah.
that's what they run,
Yeah.
then he's got the ability to. He's a better athlete to make that play.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you put kids in position and they're not able to make the play. I mean, when we were playing Blackman in 2011, we had kids in position to tackle Mathers at times, and they weren't going to tackle Mathers. I mean, we had guys in position. Our defensive staff had figured things out to where we could do this or that and get somebody free. But if you're in open field with Mathers and you can't tackle them, it doesn't matter what you call. So the case in point being, we had a good call at the right time. We had scouted it well, and George made the play. You can put kids in position, but they got to make the play. He intercepted a beautiful trap coverage there, intercepted and ran it in for a score. So we've continued to score on defense. That's become a common theme, which is exciting to me. We got a shutout finally to get our backups in the game and not give up points was big. And then, we got our seconds almost, the majority of the fourth quarter. And our second offensive line did a much better job of staying on blocks and creating opportunities for our backs. And our backs did a better job of hitting it. And so we had two young backs break long touchdowns. So, and in case in point would be, both of those touchdowns that Lazarius Patterson and Kendrick Johnson ran in, they're just off-tackle power plays. And one of our basic number one play. It's probably the first play and the last play Laverne talked about before they ever came over here. So it wasn't like we were trying to run the score up. I mean, to me, that's the last thing I want to do. But, our seconds went in and executed. They had a lot of hunger. I thought, again, Laverne, just lost their momentum and didn't have the same energy in the second half. And then, we had a couple kids break long runs, and that was great for experience, great for morale. It's good for us to have those young guys get opportunities and obviously be successful. So very positive night. Again, a lot of things we've got to do to improve moving forward, but a lot of things to take away that are encouraging.
Just overall, just a good Oakland Friday night. You came away with a win. You're 7-1, and you've had a couple of days practice. And as you said, interviews are picking up, press is picking up. This is a really big one Friday night. Oldest rivalry. I was talking to your opponent yesterday. When I got here in '98, there was no Blackman, there was no Siegel.
No.
There was 4 schools, Smyrna Laverne was down at the other end of the county, but you two guys were up here, and you were, of course, over at Riverdale and coaching over there and things. But talk a little bit about the rivalry and to the fans and those that have been around and those that are new and whatnot.
Just the rivalry of Oakland Riverdale has not been much of a rivalry. I think if you look at it historically, it hasn't. It pains me to say that, but if you look at the history, which I tend to do a lot of times with our district. It's not been a great rivalry. There's been some great games and there's been some great years, but Riverdale's been the dominant force with this rivalry, and it's a big game, man. I mean, it's just it's what makes high school football so special. Obviously, to me, this is the mecca of high school football in Tennessee, and this is one of those rivalries. I mean, they're all special now. To me, this is still the greatest one because it is the original, and it's the oldest, all that stuff. There's been some great games throughout the years, but for me in particular, and for our staff, it's probably a little more special. I mean, we've had multiple guys, that have coached at Riverdale and had great memories, very fond memories and time at Riverdale. Brad Cowan coached at Riverdale when they won the state championship in 1994. Matt Snow was coaching at Riverdale from 1994 through 2005. So he was a part of 4 state championship teams. Coach White and Coach Gardner both played at Riverdale and coached at Riverdale. in the 2001 and 2004 state championship years. Coach Hartsfield, our safety coach, played at Riverdale for us in 2004 and 2005. Was on a state championship team at Riverdale. Gaston Miller obviously was a Mr. Football, and he had a great career there and won a state championship in 2004. Played for us. Scott Thomas is now over here at Oakland and was a Mr. Football, quarterback. His brother was also a quarterback, Dave Thomas. So I got a lot of Riverdale people, I guess you could say, that are Oakland, conversions, whatever you want to call it. So they're definitely Oakland people now, through and through, which I think kind of for us probably magnifies
Exactly.
the rivalry. And we don't really talk to it about the kids, but I guarantee if you talk to any of our coaches personally every year, this is still a game for us that if we had to pick the one game we want to win, for us right now it's still Riverdale. Now that doesn't, that definitely doesn't diminish the intensity or the want to beat Siegel or Blackman or Smyrna or anybody else, but I think if you said you got to pick one, we'll take the Riverdale game. So, and it may or may not be that way at Riverdale. I don't know. I know both groups of kids still, consider it to be a great rivalry. I think it's probably the type of rivalry I like because the Siegel-Oakland rivalry, sometimes the kids are too close, and whether they're friends or not, they're on the same side of town together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And with this one, there's pretty good separation. I don't know there's a whole lot of friendship between the Oakland and Riverdale players, which, to be honest, I personally like. So, like I said, it's been the whole gamut of games since I've been here. My first year was the first time they'd beaten Riverdale in, I believe, 9 years. First time that Riverdale lost a district or region game in 11 years. That was a special one for us. I still think about 2009. We lost to them 2 times that year. They were great games, both of them. One of them went into double overtime or triple overtime. The other one was a 14-10 game. It came down to us being on about the 10-yard line as time was running out, and we missed a pass in the end zone to lose in the quarterfinals. And 2010. We jumped up on them 21-0. It looked like, we were in full celebration mode midway through the second quarter. Threw an interception to a defensive lineman. They ran back for a touchdown. I can't remember much about what happened during the Laverne game last week, but I can tell you everything that happened in every Riverdale game. But we were up 21-0, threw an interception to a defensive tackle that ran it in, made it 21-7, and all of a sudden it snowballed on us. Next thing you know, we're in triple overtime in a game that we won. That we should not have won. They had opportunities to kick field goals to win.
They beat you. You
We
won the game.
yeah.
They beat you.
They played better than us that night for 4 quarters, and in extra they did, and we found a way to win. But we had jumped on them, and it was just a weird game. But and then 2011 we took a drumming. They were a better football team than us. And then 2012 it was kind of a war of attrition down on our field, and they won 17-14. And then last year, I think they would say that they took drubbing. So, it's been kind of the whole gamut of games, every kind of scenario. This one will be definitely exciting. Obviously, we're both 7-1. They're a much improved football team. I give them a lot of credit. Don't have any animosity toward Coach Adelot. I have a lot of respect for what he's done at Riverdale, especially considering who he had to follow. They've had some great years there, and he's been very consistent in his time at Riverdale. So they're going to be ready. They'll be prepared. They'll do some things schematically that they haven't shown. They always do. For us, he's going to have some things in the run game scheme-wise that we haven't seen that we'll try to. I guess the chess match, really begins during the week because there's things that we are working on that they haven't shown, and there's going to be some things that they show that we didn't think about or whatever. But he's great at that. That's one of the things about Coach Adelot that I really admire or respect is he's got a real knack for finding ways offensively to create opportunities, and I think they know us well enough that they know what we're going to do defensively. We're not. We don't get outside the box,
And they know what you're going to do offensively, right?
Yeah, they do, but from a defensive perspective, we don't create a lot of diversion for them. He knows how we're going to play.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would guess he probably enjoys scheming for us because he knows what he's going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't mean that in disrespect to my staff or to his staff. I'm just saying he knows. You know, some weeks he may not see what he thinks he's going to see, or you don't know what that defensive lineman's going to do. I mean, it's not a secret. I know that he knows what our defensive linemen are going to do. He knows our defensive linemen are going to be well coached. He knows that our defensive linemen are going to read a certain thing and do what they're supposed to do. And that's great because that's what we teach them to do. But within that, that allows them opportunities to create some.
That's just his coaching experience, and he knows what he's doing. You're just telling the fans, hey, look, man, this guy's no idiot. He knows what he's going to do.
Good, really good play caller and really good scheming things up against people that he understands what they're gonna be in. So, I think the flip side of that be, well, you can do a lot of things that they're not expecting and try to show them a lot of different looks and confuse them. But you try to confuse them, you're confusing your kids, and to me, that's ignorant. So. We're not going to be, he knows that. It's not a secret. We're not going to try to confuse him. We're going to line up and play our base defense. And, it's good. But again, it's going to, I know it's a cliche and I hate saying it, but it's just the truth. It's going to be one up front. I mean, their offensive and defensive line, played some good people. I would say that, and I think they would argue just as well that we're probably the best defense and offensive front they've seen outside of Blackman. Whether we're better than Blackman up front, that's an opinion. But
According what night?
Right.
It's according what night and who comes play.
But I know outside of Blackman they haven't faced an offensive defensive front like ours, and I'm sure they would say the same thing. So it'll be one up front, and like I said, there's just a lot of emotion. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of intangible things that go into this game outside of playing on the field at 7 o'clock. And my point being, again, 2010. We had that game completely wrapped up. It was 21-0. They were done. And then all of a sudden, one play turns the momentum around, and then it was just a complete shift. And so a lot of emotion in the game. Again, whether they build it up. I've tried I used to do a poor job of probably putting too much emphasis on the game. And I mean, when I'm talking about the Riverdale game. And, we were going to have a T-shirt made every week, and we were going to have every news clipping hung up. And, I mean, it's just too much emotion, too much emotionally invested into it, and a lot of it was personal, And to me, looking back on it now, it's part of being immature and having to grow up. But we, not to say we're not focused on Riverdale. We're completely focused on Riverdale. We got to listen to the war chant for an hour and a half yesterday at practice. Those things are still going to be there, but. At the end of the day, it's still a 48-minute game, and it's our next opponent. We don't need to look into it too much.
Do you think back in the past you kind of took yourself out of it, that you focused too much on that stuff instead of something else?
I don't know. I just know that I was emotionally way too invested in it. I mean, I know in 2009, after the quarterfinal game, it put me in the hospital. I mean that literally, I found myself in January in Vanderbilt getting tested out because I didn't know what was wrong with me. And what was wrong with me is I didn't want to come out of my house. I was embarrassed, and our kids played their butts off. 2 great football teams that year. Riverdale was an outstanding team that year, and we were a very good football team, and it was just, both games came down to a few plays, And
it was tough to compete in the 4-5A at that time.
Oh, yeah.
It was tough to compete at that level.
Yeah, so anyway, I mean, I say all that because it's just looking back on it now, it was ignorant because our kids played hard and we just came up a couple plays short. You don't ruin the rest of your your Christmas or the rest of your off season because you lose to Riverdale. But that's the way it was for me, and
I think that was just a growing pain
as
far as coaching.
It's getting older and understanding that there's more to it, and but. It's still a deep rivalry. It's still a dislike from both sides, both fan bases, and which I think is good. I think it's healthy. I don't think anybody takes it over the top. I don't think there's hatred would be too strong a word, but
or destruction toward either
right.
of the schools.
I just think there's a honest dislike for both both programs. They don't want to see each other be successful, and from the fan base's perspective, and. They got great tradition. I mean, they've again the tradition speaks for itself. It's
they've got gold balls in different various sports.
Yeah, they sure do, and their fan base is fanatical in all sports.
Yes.
I mean, they got great school spirit. They do a phenomenal job of getting the school culture bought into supporting the athletics, and it's got a rich tradition. So, like I say, I'm excited because it's going to be a great atmosphere. We got 3HL coming at 2 o'clock to do their 104.5 The Zone radio show. We got the TV's going to be broadcasting the game. WGNS is going to broadcast the game. Rudy Kalis is going to fly in. All the news will be here. I mean, it's a once.
Tom Krager will be here.
Tom Krager's going to be here. And maybe roaming the sidelines or maybe sitting in the press box.
We don't know. We don't
know yet.
But he's got a spot on the sideline.
And it's going to be a beautiful night.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
But for some reason,
he won't have to worry about writing. He can write on the sidelines.
But for some reason, so anyway, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, it's going to be a great night and great weather, great atmosphere, and I'm excited about all that. But really, what I'm excited mostly about is get to watch them run out with their spear and look at all their fans and all their colorful signs that the cheerleaders make and all the stuff that I used to look at and love that I look at now and despise. And you could say it's politically incorrect, but it's the truth. And so it's going to be fun. I mean, last year was fun for us. Obviously, it wasn't fun for them. I know they got the redemption factor, but it's a different team, different year. It's going to be an interesting game. They're like I said, they're a much improved team. They're playing with a supreme amount of confidence right now. I think just came off a dominating win at Cane Ridge and
in Hendersonville. So.
And they had the big win against Hendersonville, but we'll get into the football thing, I guess, a little bit more in a second. But anyway, the battle, all that leading up to it, it's going to be an exciting night. It's great to be a part of it, to be able to, one of these days I'm going to look back and I'll be out of this and say, man, I used to be a part of the Battle of the Borough. And that, I'm proud of that because it's such a good rivalry. And, most people you don't ever get that opportunity. I mean, there's guys that coach in programs for 20, 30 years, great football coaches, great tradition, that never get to be a part of a game like this one. And this foundation was laid 40 years ago, when they split Central High School. So this thing goes way back. It affects a lot of people. And I still believe in my heart it's a barbershop game. It's a game that, whether the kids that are playing right now, kids that played in 1998 at Oakland and Riverdale, still are going to keep up with this game, whether they're here, whether they're in Nevada, whether they're in Atlanta, Georgia. They're still going to keep up with this, what happens in this game. A lot of reunions this weekend, all that stuff. I know that I believe we have the 84 state championship team is going to be here, and like the 88, 89 state runner-up teams are. I mean, a lot of those guys are getting back together this weekend to come see this game. So I mean, there's a lot of school pride, which I think is cool. At stake in the game, and I hope our kids understand, just how important it is to so many people that are removed from the program, but still have an emotional investment to it. So, we don't take it. I take that to heart. I think it's something you got to respect because that's what makes our county so special.
Well, big games, big plays, big time players, and it's your competition level. And you spoke about this a lot last weekend in scheduling and stuff, or last week, and that is, this is big boy football, and we love it. I mean, you and I, we love it, and we love to see the kids get challenged because if you play somebody that you should beat every week, that's not going to be very good for a young man later on when he goes out into the world because he's going to expect everything I do, I should win and get what I'm supposed to get, and life isn't that way.
No, I mean it's a big challenge. Like I said, they're much improved. I want them, and I know they will. So I mean, I'm not saying this in a defensive manner. I want their best effort. I want the best that they have to offer to us on Friday, and I think our kids would tell you the same thing. I want them to come over here with what I think they are right now, supremely confident. I believe 100% that their coaches, and they should rightly, think that they are coming over here to
get a W,
to shock us and get a W and build on that momentum that they've created. I know that their fan base, knowing how passionate they are, I think they believe that this is, I know that they are just, licking their chops, metaphorically speaking, to come over here and knock us off because, again, that's the rivalry. I know that they still think about last year. I don't know. I know that last year, again, it hasn't been a great rivalry when you look at the history of the game. but last year was the worst that they've ever been beaten by us in 41, 42, whatever, how many years it was. So there's that component that's involved, and they're just talented, man. I mean, they got a really good quarterback playing, very well right now. Athletic, kind of a dual threat guy.
Who's grown to be a good quarterback.
Yes, and with him coming in, it's allowed some other guys to go to more natural positions, like Gene, the little quarterback that they played last year's playing corner and slot. He's probably naturally that's what he is. Their tailback Collier's a little guy, but he runs really hard. Austin Bryant, the number 6, the other tailback, is a very physical runner. Reminds me kind of a Davenport. He's about 185, 190 pound kid, but really does a good job of following his blockers and runs behind his pads. He's a good player. Both their inside linebackers are very physical. Wells and Schott both are big physical presence inside. They got the dynamic receiver number 4 on the perimeter. So they got people all across the board. And I'm not saying that it's. I just think from a community standpoint, you say, well, on paper, it should be a great game. Thank goodness we've gotten into the season and we're able to eliminate some of this, but I eliminate the noise, but it's still out there. Well, Oakland's got this guy and this guy and this SEC and this SEC, and it's not about that. It's about your production. And
they haven't proven anything yet. It's just those are all just right now.
And a lot of that stuff is off. And I'm not saying that as a knock on our kids. I'm just saying a lot of times offers are based off of projections, and projections are fine. But are you a great high school football player? Are you an impact player? I mean, and that doesn't necessarily mean making it. But how do you impact your team? Are you doing the things you need to do on the sideline, in the dressing room, in warm-ups, during the game? Because I have made it very clear to our kids and to everybody, I've drawn my line in the sand. I'm not listening or putting up with any individualism. If you don't want to do it my way, then you're going to get to watch. And it's sad that it has to be that way, but it has helped change the culture of our locker room, I think. And you can't put the time in and invest this much into it and expect the rewards that you want if you're not consistent. And so anyway, all that being said, on paper, Oakland's much more talented.
But they're not a college football player yet.
No, they're not. And
they got a long way to go.
And I'm sure they're, again, a lot of this is psychological, but I mean, I'm not naive enough to say that, they're over there saying, well, they got all these college players and, y'all can go over there and prove everybody wrong. That's fine. I mean, whatever. The game's got to be won, on the field. And again, it's a matter of pride. It's about doing it for your school. And that's what, again, going back to this rivalry. It's about making sure you represent the people that came before you. And, we just got to go out and play our best football. And aside from the rivalry, we got to be clicking moving into week 9 and 10. I mean, it's just, shocking to think that we're in week 9 of the football season. It's crazy, but we're fixing to be, into November, and then it's.
I mean, in 9-10 days, we're going to know.
Yeah.
We're going to know your road.
Yeah.
And we're going to know Blackman's
That's
road.
right.
We're going to know Riverdale's road.
And
those that are going on into the playoffs,
yeah.
We're going to know your road.
So it's shocking to think that we're already at that point. It's flown by, and I just told our kids last week. I mean, you better start appreciating and really kind of soaking up every moment because. Whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, whatever the time we have left together, it's limited. And when it's over, it's over. And I've said it before, but when it's over and you got to go take them pads and hand them back to the equipment guy, and you got to turn your stuff in, and you got to clean your locker out, that is a depressing time. I don't care who it is. It is a there's a disconnect that you can't prepare for, and there's a void that you're never going to be able to fill again. And players that are seniors have to understand that, and that's why every day is another opportunity to just relish the camaraderie, the brotherhood of being a football player, and more specifically being an Oakland Patriot. So it's going to be a great game. I'm excited to get to play them. I know they're going to be jacked up, and like I said, there's so much improved. Give their staff a lot of credit. Their kids are playing football the way that Riverdale traditionally has played, and we want their best effort. I know we're going to get it, so it's going to be fun night at Oakland, and it's going to be ton of media, ton of fans, and it's just it's fun. You're pretty lucky and fortunate to be in this type of game. So we're not going to take it for granted. We're going to enjoy it.
Anything else going on here at Oakland High School?
Besides the circus tent, just about everything. I mean, it's it's everything, man. It's a crazy week. We got got a pep rally Friday morning. Got the news coming in to video that, and it's just one thing after another, man. It's been an enjoyable but wild week, and it'll be good to get it over. And as I say that, I'm just trying to make sure I take the time to enjoy it, because you only get to play this game once a year usually, and you never know.
You can play in the playoffs, but it's nothing like the regular season.
And you just never know when it's going to be your last battle of the borough. So I've been fortunate enough now to be a part of a bunch of these battles, and I'm excited yet again to get to be part of such a rich rivalry, and it's going to be fun.
All right. Friday night, right here at Ray Hughes Stadium, Riverdale Warriors, Oakland Patriots. If you've not seen either one of these teams, now's the time. They're both 7-1, and somebody will win, somebody will lose. So come out Friday night at 7 o'clock. We'll all be here, and we'll see you there.